What's up, guys? We're here at PAX West 2018 with Justin Roiland, the creator of Trover Saves the Universe and Squanch Games. And can you tell me what Trover Saves the Universe is about?
Yeah, so you play as a Chairorpian who had two dogs that you found on Chairorpia and you loved very much, and all the people of Chairorpia they don't walk, they sit in their little floating chairs, so it's very blasphemous to them to have these creatures with not only two legs but four who walk defiantly around. And that's sort of the origin of who you are. And then, unbeknownst to you, this hell-bent, maniac named Glorkon basically comes for your dogs, steals them, plugs them into his eyes. He has information we don't about what these dogs might be, and they ultimately superpower him so that he can further this sort of insanely destructive agenda he has that you kind of learn more about as the game unfolds.
Man, your dogs, you have no idea how fucked things are because of your two stupid dogs.
I feel like the pacing is pretty good narratively because it's like introduction to Trover, and then you meet Trover's boss, and then the stakes get raised, and it's like, oh, this is weird. What's going on? You have a lot of questions that you're going to get answers to as you progress, and but yeah, it's really but it's ultimately a fun action platformer, explorative kind of adventure game across the cosmos. You have a cool little spaceship that you can go into and teleport to the next location, or to the boss's office, or to somebody's bathroom, or just like the doors open and there's like, just you're in a room.
This is the telepod. We'll use this to travel to all kinds of crazy, weird alien places and across the cosmos.
I really wanted to make something that was going to be a VR game, and again, of course, it's also playable from top to bottom on regular PS4 on the flat screen, and it's pretty damn amazing. But I wanted to make something that was going to be that had a bit more character, a bit more personality, like comedic in tone, crazy, weird, surprising, but then also just felt like a big kind of epic adventure that you're going to get to go on and not really know what awaits you around the next corner.
All right, listen, you're going to control me, man, because I'm tired, okay? You know how long it took me to find you? I'm exhausted. So you're in control. I'm like a remote control character now, all right?
One of the things that I noticed playing the game was that it is definitely a platformer, but you have all these, in VR especially, like you're controlling a character as you're sitting in this chair, and there's like points where you move too far out and he's like, oh no, you went too far, I can't, yeah. So like what made you want to make like that whole, you're sitting down but also moving a character as a platformer? Like what made you want to do that kind of style of gaming?
That kind of symbiotic relationship between the player and the character. Well, the biggest motivating factor when we started, I really just firmly believe, and this isn't always true with VR, but it's true from the kind of experiences I would like to make, and that is the best VR puts the player in the experience, right? You're not just using VR as a floating camera. What's the little cloud guy from Mario? Lock it too. Okay, yeah. So you're not just doing that, right? Even though that was the most imaginative take on it, it's like, oh, we got a weird little dude in the sky. That's how this all makes sense. But no, like, so I wanted to make a game where you're there. So, but I also knew the fundamental core sort of, gameplay mechanics that I wanted to lean on, foundationally for this game. I knew I wanted a character that had a lot of personality, had a lot to say, was going to surprise you with, how aware he is of you as you control him through these worlds. But I also liked the idea that, because we could have done what, there's so many games that have done this where it's like third person, but you're in VR, right? So you can look around and it's like awesome, and there's my character, and they feel good. But I wanted to take it another step and be like, no, I want the player to be there. I want you to see your hands. I want you to, I want you to be there so that the person you're controlling is aware of you, and all the characters that you meet in this adventure are aware of you, talking to you, asking you questions that you get to answer, and just be surprised the whole time. And so that was kind of the reason for that decision. And then as we started moving into the traditional aspects of the game, like just playing it on PS4 flat screen, we were really surprised at how we had unintentionally, I think, maybe created another genre of games, because it's a first-person, third-person game.
I don't like rotating my chair.
If you want this marriage to work, you'll rotate your chair, goddammit. Just use the right thumbstick and rotate your chair, Samantha.
I know how to rotate, Reginald. I'm not an idiot.
Has that ever been? It's probably been done. I mean, everything's been done, but I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, so I'm like, this is really weird, because as you progress deeper into the game, you yourself start to get new abilities and powers, and I think you saw one of them in the demo, the pop-up. But then they get a bit more like cool, like, you know, telekinesis and like really cool stuff that you can do. And in VR, it's like, oh yeah, well, we've seen that before in this game, and like, you know, how can we take those sorts of mechanics and plus them, or you know, what can we do to make them our own and really make them kind of part of the narrative? And but then when going to traditional, it's like, oh, it works so well, shockingly so well. But it really is, that's when you really realize, oh my God, this is a co-op game I'm playing with myself, with a character that really does feel alive and is very aware of what I'm doing, where I'm bringing my first-person skills to the table, but also have a third-person character. And there's sections of the game where you have to work together to accomplish things, and it really is a strong foundation for like really unique, interesting gameplay scenarios that I honestly can't think of. And I guess that came about because of the design philosophy approach we took, where we're like, started in VR, very VR focused, and like, okay, you know, that was the genesis of the project. But when we got to a certain point and decided, oh, I think we can actually port this, a few folks on the team were like, I have ideas, I think we can port this to play traditionally. And you can maybe, you know, you can just bounce back and forth between VR and traditional. Or if you don't have VR, you can still experience this great game. And then as we started going down that road, that's when we realized how weird and kind of awesome what we had on our hands was.
Well, you never interact with objects by looking at them and pressing R2. Like the things on the ground or the things on the desk, Reginald. Why won't you look at the things on your desk or on the ground and interact with them by pressing R2?
And it was something that I don't think you would ever have thought to create just you know, if we were going, hey, let's make a traditional, like, you know, Steam or PlayStation game on, you know, that would just play, there's no VR involved, I don't think we would have ever thought to do what we ultimately ended up with. So it's kind of a weird, interesting result that's sort of kind of amazing, actually. Yeah.
You're obviously in multiple platforms, on TV, on doing Squanch Games. Like, what makes this like more personal for you, diving into doing video games, making very different games like Accounting and now this for Trover? What's your drive for making more of these types of games?
I think the drive, truthfully, is the gaming space feels very, I don't know, I'm a huge gamer. I play a lot of games, and I feel like you can get so much more experimental in the gaming space than you could in TV. I think TV's gotten fairly, well, this isn't 100% true, but I think in terms of, you know, it's gotten fairly rigid in terms of like just narrative, storytelling, story breaking, like what needs to happen, this, that, and the other thing. And those things also are intrinsically important to a good game. You want a solid story that drives you, propels you through some sort of adventure that feels like you give a shit about. But with Accounting, well, the second part of the answer is working with amazing people, like being able to collaborate with like people who I love dearly and think are fucking brilliant. And that applies to my studio as well. Like our team is so good, and it's so much fun to collaborate with them on this, on stuff like this. But like with Accounting and with Trover, it was very free. It was sort of just like this like free, almost stream of conscious level of like creativity, where it's like, oh, we don't like, let's just have fun. Like, let's just, you know, let's take risks. Let's have fun. Let's be weird, and see what happens. You know what I mean? And in Accounting's case, it was a very positive result. It was like, oh, this is, I mean, we were just goofing around, you know? We were just like, it was William over at Crows and Dom and Crows. And we were just screwing around, having fun, and making what we wanted to make. And then, you know, having my friends come in and record, and it's like, you know, I have a script, but it's like, let's go off script, let's go crazy, like say whatever you want, keep talking forever. You know, the player can interrupt at any time, but if they choose to sit and listen, and that's the same thing in this game. There's so many moments in this game where if you just want to sit and listen to a character, they will fucking go on and on and on and on. But you don't have to. You can opt into that.
You want to soak this place in before we leave, huh? I get it.
And I mean, it goes off the rails sometimes in the best way, you know, and just working with amazing people that I think are so funny and bringing them in. And that's sort of where the cross-pollination of like TV and the video game stuff is, like bringing people in who I've worked with on Rick and Morty or on other projects, knowing how amazing they are, and just bringing them into the game and being like, hey, you're going to be this character. This is the general setup and what's going on in the game. And then, you know, we obviously always have some kind of stuff scripted, but the people I like to work with are the ones that can just start throwing a bunch of insane shit out.
Things are really crazy right now. Shit's all fucked up, and this goddamn big monster has dogs that are plugged into his eyes, and they are powering him up above any power level I've ever seen. And he's scaring people. My grandmother's afraid.
And then we end up using as much of it as, like, almost all of it, usually.
That's awesome. And when is Trover set to come out?
It is set to, Trover Saves the Universe is set to release in early 2019. We don't have a solid lockdown date, but yeah, early 2019.
Awesome. Justin, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.